we're going to take a look at a meal cold weather, or MCW. This one is Menu No.6 Seafood Chowder. It's made by the Warner Company. And as you can see, the bag is pretty similar to an MRE. Looks a lot like an MRE other than the fact that the bag is white. And the reason the bag is white is, as you can tell by the name, Meal Cold Weather, this is meant for cold weather environments. It's designed to be used in Arctic conditions or other conditions where the retort pouch items in an MRE might freeze. So basically it is going to be a meal, but it is going to have some differences from what you'd find in an MRE. Mainly that the entree is going to be freeze-dried instead of ready to eat. It's kind of like a throwback because in the old days, in fact in the 80s, there were a number of freeze-dried entrees in MREs, but this one is going to be a lot bigger. It's going to make a lot more food. So you're going to see there probably won't be quite as much stuff other than the entree in here as you would expect in an MRE, but it's because the entree is quite a bit bigger. And everything else in here is going to be stuff that doesn't matter if it freezes. There won't be any wet pack fruit, for instance, or something else that would be likely to freeze in a cold weather environment. And the last thing to say about this is it's kind of interesting, even though it's a white bag, the bag actually is very similar to the old MRE bags from the 1990s before they switched over to the three new designs. For whatever reason, they kept the look for the meal cold weather and the long range patrol rations. So this does not have a date code on it. So we're going to go ahead and open this up, see what's in here, and see where it dates from. It does have a peelable seal, but this one seems to have failed. So I'm going to have to cut this one open. The last meal cold weather I had actually had the components inside were packaged in white packaging. I think this is because back in, I believe it was 2001, they actually combined meal cold weather and long range patrol rations into one ration. The only real difference is that the outer bag looks different, and there's a couple small differences on the inside, mainly having to do with the accessory packs. But here's what we have in this one, and our entree here is the seafood chowder. I've always thought the clam chowder and seafood chowder was an odd choice for rations, especially shelf-stable rations that you would expect to be able to store for a couple of years, just because the idea of eating 3-year-old clam chowder doesn't sound very appetizing. But of course this is freeze-dried, so it's a different story. It's not quite as bad as that. And this is going to be, let's see what it has besides clams. It has cooked clams, clam juice potatoes. I don't really see any other seafood, so even though it's called seafood chowder, I think maybe it's just a different name instead of using the name clam chowder. And this is very, very well sealed. It's very solid in here, which is what you want to see. If there was any pinholes in here, this might not be a good idea to actually eat this. Let me see if I can find a date code on this. And it has pretty faint. It's actually printed on the back, 3341. So that means this MCW is from 2013. Towards the end of 2013. The entree itself was packaged on the 341st day of 2013. I also have shortbread cookies. They seem like they may be smashed up a little bit. A Nut Raisin mix. As I said, stuff that doesn't matter if it's in the cold weather. It's not really going to freeze up on you or anything. We have smoked almonds. Vegetable crackers. No spread to put on that because obviously peanut butter or cheese spread might freeze. And we have a lemon lime beverage based powder. I was actually expecting this to be a hot drink, like a cocoa beverage or something like that. We have our standard MRE spoon, and we have accessory pack. Let's see if this is actually it says MCW, so it's obviously meant to be a cold weather accessory pack. The LRP ones would probably say LRP on them. And this has its own date code, 3325. And in here we have some freeze-dried instant coffee, non-dairy creamer, it was in the old school packaging, some sugar, some Tabasco, hot sauce, pack of matches, a moist towelette, some toilet paper, and some chewing gum, which is actually quite fragrant. Alright, and here's what we're getting in this MCW. Doesn't look like a ton of food, but you do have to keep in mind we're going to be adding 16 ounces of water to the seafood chowder here. So it's going to make a pretty big entree. And other than that, it's just a few snacks and sides and a couple of drinks. We have the hot drink, being the coffee, and the lemon lime beverage drink for a cold drink. And next we're going to go ahead and make up the seafood chowder. And the directions on here say add 16 ounces of hot water, about 3/4 of a canteen cup, to pouch, stir, and wait 10 minutes. Hot water may be added in stages to keep food hot. Like I said, obviously this is not a meal ready to eat. Actually a pretty good hiss there as that was releasing. Ah, that was unfortunate. Here's our seafood chowder. Definitely smell the clams. Kind of smells like clam cakes or clam fritters. And although it says to add 16 ounces, I generally tend to go a little bit less on my freeze-dried food. Actually pretty close right there, that's about 15 ounces. So we'll get this stirred up, make sure everything's mixed, so we hopefully won't have any dry bits at the end. Now obviously in Arctic conditions this would be kind of welcome. A, you wouldn't have a frozen entree when you open up your pouch, and B, it's always good to have a hot meal. So it's pretty watery right now, but it should thicken up. Go ahead and put this off to the side and give that about 10 minutes to reconstitute. And we'll check out everything else. We have a number of sides and snacks here. I'll have to plate these. These are the shortbread cookies. Let's see what kind of shape these are in. Yeah, they do seem to be smashed up pretty well. No, they don't look like much, but they smell good. These are smoked almonds. A little bit of hiss there as they're released. And you're not getting a ton there, but you are going to get 120 calories and 4 grams of protein out of that. And then we have our nut raisin mix. This is actually packaged on January 3rd, 2014. So this is a 2014 MCW, not a 2013 one. Alright, and it looks like this has peanuts, raisins, walnuts, almonds, and hazelnuts. Walnuts are a little bit different. Don't usually see that in these things. And then we have our vegetable crackers. Packaged on the 329th day of 2013. Listen for the hiss on this one. That's a good one. As I said, there's nothing to put on these. There's no spread of any sort. Well, these would kind of be as a side, or they can obviously be crumbled up gun dog style and put into the seafood chowder. And the last thing we have is a couple of beverages. We have our lemon lime beverage base powder. And it's nice that this one is in the contour pouch, so we can just mix it up right in there. It's going to take 12 ounces of water. Turn this up and give it a nice shake. And then the coffee. I'm going to go ahead and mix the coffee, creamer, and sugar. And I think our seafood chowder has had a good chance to reconstitute. Now that it's kind of reconstituted, you can read the label a little bit better. You can see the ingredients a little bit better. And I do see, in addition to the clams, there is also Pacific shrimp. And as with some of these things way down here, there is anchovies, which obviously it's not an anchovy chowder, but because that's in there, they do have to put down contains clams, milk, shrimp, and anchovy, just for allergy purposes. And hopefully I mixed this up well enough. I didn't stir it halfway through. Sometimes like halfway through the reconstitution I do like to give it an extra stir, but I didn't do that this time. So let's see how this went. As you can see, yeah, you're getting a lot of food with this. In fact, this is about to go over the edge. Alright, as you can see, this is a lot of food here, and it's not even all of it, it's still a little bit more down at the bottom. So as I was saying, you get more with this entree than you do in an MRE. A standard MRE entree is 8 ounces. In one of these, it's 4.44 ounces, and you add 16 ounces of water. So the amount of water you add is twice as much as you get in a standard MRE entree. So that kind of goes to explain why there isn't a ton of other stuff. You're really getting a lot with just the entree. So obviously anybody who's not a big fan of seafood probably won't have this high on their list of rations that they want to try out. It's kind of funny how it's a lot more liquidy over on this side than it is on this side. Obviously I probably could have done some more mixing, but hopefully this stuff is going to be reconstituted. You can see these potatoes here look a little styrofoamy. And it's a pretty good sized clam right here. We'll go ahead and try this out before it gets cold. It does have a pretty distinctive seafood kind of a smell to it. Very creamy sauce. Yeah, there's a lot of clams in there. And the potatoes, let me try these over on the side. These potatoes haven't reconstituted quite as well. They're a bit spongy. I should have done a little bit more mixing. But overall, this is good. For people who don't know, there are different types of chowders. There's New England style, and that's what this is. It's like a white base, and it's very, very creamy, as opposed to Manhattan and Rhode Island chowders, which are a lot more of a just a plain liquid, kind of like a broth. I'm not quite going to say this is great. I'm liking it. I do feel bad for anybody who gets this that doesn't like seafood. This would probably be completely disgusting, and it's about 20 ounces of it. Strangely enough, it seems like it could use a little bit of salt. It does have 2,100 milligrams of salt, or 88% of your daily value, so it's got a lot in there, but it feels like it could use a little bit, which is another interesting thing about the MCWs, is that the accessory packs don't come with salt. The long-range patrol ones do, and I guess the idea is that you don't need to have extra salt in a cold environment where you're not going to be sweating as much. And here I can see what appears to be a little shrimp here. So that's a nice touch, having some shrimp in it. It's basically a clam chowder with shrimp. That's their idea of a seafood chowder. I was expecting there to be some kind of fish in here too. There's some shrimp. This thing is spilling over the side. I think there's not too much more to say about that. I should try some of these other things, but I keep going back to this. It is good, and like I said, it's generous, very generous with the clams. They're not skimping on the clams or the shrimp. You know, with an entree this large, you might want to know some of the facts. Here's the nutrition facts, and it does have 580 calories, 37% of your total fat, 70% of your saturated fat. As I said, 88% of your sodium, 50% of your cholesterol, and 33 grams of protein. Let's try some of these other things. Let's try these plain vegetable crackers. Nothing really special about these, just vegetable crackers, so as long as they haven't turned. And they smell fine. They smell kind of like cardboard, but very crispy. And that's fine. Let's try some of the chowder on here. This seems to be the way to use these crackers. Yeah, that's good. Nothing wrong with that. I got a pretty chewy clam there. You definitely want to make sure the clams are reconstituted. Like, that could be kind of disturbing if they weren't. Let's try these almonds. Well, the nut raisin mix doesn't have any salt on it. You can see there's a good amount on the almonds. And since there's no salt in the accessory pack, you can't kick these up with a little bit of salt. Maybe a couple of raisins in here. So I suppose one option would be just to open up the pack of nut raisin mix and pour the almonds into there to give you a little bit of salt. And those are good. The raisins give it a little bit of a sweetness. Like I said, I've always been kind of surprised that those don't have salt in them, considering how much salt is in an MRE or other rations. You kind of expect the nut raisin mix to be a salty thing too, but it's not. Let's try our hot drink, the instant coffee. Nothing too special there, just standard freeze-dried instant coffee. And we'll try these shortbread cookies. Expecting this to be quite good. And it is. It definitely has the, it's just a little bit of sweetness, not overly sweet. And you can taste the, it's a buttery kind of flavor. It's probably like a shortening or something. Seem to be quite fresh, and they're very tasty. They're kind of delicate and yet have a good crunch at the same time. Makes for a nice dessert. So I guess the only other thing we can do is, this might help somebody who doesn't like seafood, and that they give you the Tabasco sauce. Put a little bit of this on here. Let's see what that does to it. You can see there's some peas in here too, I didn't notice that before. That definitely masks the fishiness. Not really what I would normally think to pair with a seafood chowder, Tabasco hot sauce. But A, if you like your stuff spicy, and B, if you don't like this in general, you want to change the taste of it, this definitely does it. It covers it up and gives it a whole new flavor. Personally, I think I'd just stick with how it is. It is a pretty impressive entree. Both for the number and size of clams. Wow, look at these. And also just the size of the entree itself. And those are some major league clams right there. And I guess the last thing to check out is the lemon lime beverage base powder, which is your standard Kool-Aid kind of a drink. It was a look at a Meal Cold Weather Menu No.6 Seafood Chowder from 2013. Last thing to do, I guess, is to gun dog it up a little bit. Some of these crackers. Give it a little extra crunch in addition to the not quite reconstituted potatoes. Thank you for watching.